Hi, today we're going to talk about internet browsers and some of the different options you may want to explore as you go through developing your own web pages or even just looking at other people's pages. So there are a number of different browsers out there that you may have some familiarity with. Different browsers have their pros and their cons, and so there's no one perfect browser that everybody should be using. So I just wanted to talk to you for a little bit about some of the things you may want to think about. Most people have a preferred browser. And that may be because it was the default browser that showed up on their machine and they're not going to change. It may be because they're a certain type of developer and that browser has special tools that they just have fallen in love with. But what's very important is you need to test your website on multiple browsers to make sure you're really getting a consistent look and feel across all the different browsers, or at least as many browsers as you can. So let's first talk about Internet Explorer. It's one of the most popular browsers in use today. It's pre-installed on Microsoft Windows, and it's also free to download if for some reason you don't have it on your machine right now. And that right there is the reason it's one of the most popular browsers, because convenience is really everything. Now, Internet Explorer is not available on the Mac, so if you wanted to make sure that you're testing everywhere, you can't really test Internet Explorer when you're developing on a Mac. The next one we're going to talk about is Safari. Now, Safari works on both Mac and Windows operating systems. So it doesn't matter what type of machine you're using, you can go ahead and download Safari and test or develop your code from there. It's free to download. It's also the default browser on both iPhones and iPads. So there's a really good chance that you have used Safari at some point and not really paid any attention to the fact that you were using it. Another internet browser you might have seen before is Google Chrome. Now, not surprisingly, Google Chrome was developed by Google, and it's a freeware browser that's available on both Mac and PC computers. It is known for being extremely fast for browsing, which is something Google itself is known for. Quick searches, quick indexing, different things like that. So it's not really surprising. But in addition to the fast browsing, it also has implemented greater security than some of the earlier versions of other browsers, particularly Internet Explorer. Next, we have Firefox. Now, Firefox is a free browser developed by Microsoft. Now, they already have a stake in Internet Explorer, but they developed Firefox because they wanted to be able to compete across multiple operating systems again. So for this reason, it works on Windows and Mac. Now, Firefox is extremely secure and it's very fast. I know a lot of different developers who like to develop and test their websites using Firefox because there are so many tools built in. The downfall, however, is that Firefox tends to be resource heavy. And what I mean by that is that when you're running Firefox, it tends to slow down your entire machine. So that's a trade-off you have to think about when you're developing. Now, here's a kind of quick infographic from October 2014 showing you kind of the market share of what each of the different browsers is, which each of the different browsers has. Now, the IE stands for Internet Explorer, and you can see that there's different numbers behind it. Internet Explorer 11, 10, 9, 8, etc. So altogether, Explorer takes up a huge chunk. But as you can guess, fewer and fewer people are going to be using the 8 version, 9, 10, etc. And the question is, are they going to upgrade to a newer Internet Explorer or move over here to perhaps Chrome or Firefox? Just remember that browsers can vary in how well they adhere to the HTML5 standards as well. One example would be the details tag. That's a tag, an HTML tag, that works in some browsers but doesn't currently work in Firefox. So when you're developing, you want to make sure that you're considering all the different browsers and testing your code on as many different browsers as you can. I would recommend testing on at least 2 different browsers, if not all.